Isn't it weird that you arrive home exhausted after a day spent just sitting and thinking? How can mental work leave you more drained than physical labor in the fields? This question reveals something most people never suspect about their own functioning. The exhaustion you feel is real, yet it has nothing to do with how much actual work you accomplished. You are tired because your inner machinery has been running in chaos all day, with each part attempting tasks it was never designed to handle. Understanding this chaos will change everything about how you experience your life. So, in this episode, Gurdjieff unfolds the mysteries of your work centers that are unsuspectedly mismatched. So listen with complete presence, and if these teachings make you think for a while, consider subscribing to this channel for more mystical audiobooks. Picture yourself as a building with 3 distinct floors, each equipped with specialized equipment and workers trained for specific tasks. The top floor contains your thinking apparatus, designed for analysis, planning, and solving problems through logic. The middle floor houses your feeling capacity, built to respond to beauty, danger, joy, and sorrow with appropriate emotional reactions. The bottom floor operates your physical existence, managing everything from walking and breathing to the countless automatic processes that keep your body alive. Each floor operates at its own natural speed and possesses its own intelligence. When I say intelligence, I mean each has a genuine capacity to handle certain kinds of situations brilliantly, effortlessly, without need for conscious interference. Your thinking brain works slowly and deliberately, like a judge carefully weighing evidence before rendering judgment. Your feeling brain operates with lightning speed, responding to situations faster than thought can follow. Your moving brain functions somewhere between these two, handling physical coordination and learned habits with remarkable efficiency. The tragedy is that these 3 floors rarely operate independently as they should. Instead, they constantly interfere with each other, creating an internal chaos that wastes enormous amounts of energy while producing confusion, anxiety, and a feeling of being perpetually overwhelmed by life. Observe what happens when someone says something that hurts you. A colleague makes a cutting remark. A friend forgets an important occasion. Your partner speaks thoughtlessly. The natural, healthy response would be for your emotional center to simply feel the hurt, process it, and release it. This takes perhaps seconds or minutes when allowed to occur naturally. Instead, watch what actually happens. The moment hurt arises, your thinking brain rushes in like an overprotective parent, trying to manage and control the feeling. I shouldn't be upset about this. They probably didn't mean it that way. I'm being too sensitive. This is irrational. Let me analyze why I'm having this reaction. Hours or even days can pass in this mental churning, with the original feeling never properly felt or released. A student once came to me who had not cried in 15 years despite experiencing losses that would bring tears to stone. Her thinking brain had constructed such an elaborate system for why crying was useless, why emotions needed to be controlled through reason, that her emotional center had essentially shut down. She suffered from constant headaches, digestive problems, and an inability to sleep. Her body was crying the tears her eyes could not release because the thinking center kept blocking the natural work of feeling. This substitution happens constantly in your culture. You have been trained to think about feelings rather than feel them, to analyze emotional responses rather than allow them their natural expression. The result is that feelings never complete their cycle. They remain trapped inside, creating pressure, manifesting as physical symptoms, or emerging later as explosions of emotion completely out of proportion to whatever triggered them. Now observe the opposite problem. You need to make a practical decision. Should you take the new job or stay in your current position? Which apartment should you rent? What project deserves your attention today? These questions require clear thinking, careful weighing of factors, and logical analysis of pros and cons. Instead, your emotional brain floods the process with feelings. Fear about making the wrong choice paralyzes you. Excitement about possibilities sends you spinning through fantasies. Anxiety about what others will think clouds every consideration. Shame about past failures makes you doubt your own judgment. Hours pass in this emotional storm while no actual thinking gets done. I have watched highly intelligent people become completely stupid when making decisions about their personal lives. Their thinking brains function perfectly well when analyzing abstract problems or professional matters. Yet the moment the question becomes personal, emotions overwhelm the intellectual process. They cannot think clearly about their relationships, their health, their life direction, because feeling has invaded territory where it has no business operating. This explains why people often make terrible decisions when emotionally activated. The emotion itself may be entirely appropriate. Fear in the face of danger serves a purpose. Joy at good news is natural. The problem comes when these fast-moving emotional energies try to perform the slow, careful work of thinking. It is like trying to do delicate surgery while riding a galloping horse. Here is perhaps the most common problem in modern life. You feel uncomfortable, anxious, or sad. These are signals from your emotional center that something needs attention. The healthy response would be to turn inward, feel what you are feeling, and allow the emotional center to complete its natural process. Instead, your moving brain immediately activates to escape the discomfort. You reach for your phone, scrolling mindlessly through images that register in your awareness without being truly seen. You open the refrigerator, though you are not hungry, putting food in your mouth to give your hands and jaw something to do. You begin cleaning, organizing, pacing, fidgeting with objects, any physical activity to avoid sitting with whatever feeling is arising. This mechanical response creates a devastating cycle. The emotion remains unprocessed, building pressure. The body exhausts itself in compulsive activity that brings no satisfaction. Your attention fractures into 1,000 pieces, unable to rest anywhere. By evening, you feel drained and confused, though you cannot identify what drained you because you were never actually present to your own experience. Watch people in waiting rooms, on trains, walking down streets. How many can simply sit or walk without their hands reaching for devices? How many can tolerate even a few minutes of quiet stillness without finding something physical to do? This compulsive movement is the body's attempt to solve emotional discomfort, which it can never accomplish, because movement addresses different problems than the ones the feeling presents. Understanding why these substitutions cause such difficulty requires grasping that each center operates at fundamentally different speeds. Your emotional center responds faster than thought can track. A loud noise startles you before your thinking brain even registers what made the sound. Beauty strikes your heart before you can analyze what makes it beautiful. Danger triggers fear before your rational mind assesses the threat level. Your moving center works very rapidly, though slower than emotion. Watch someone who has learned to play piano or drive a car skillfully. Their hands move through complex, coordinated actions far too quickly for conscious thought to direct each movement. The body has learned, and it executes learned patterns with remarkable speed and precision. Your thinking center, by comparison, is agonizingly slow. It must process information sequentially, consider alternatives, and weigh factors against each other. This slowness is not a defect. For the kind of work thinking does, this careful deliberation is exactly what is required. The catastrophe occurs when a fast center tries to do the work of a slow center, or a slow center attempts to manage something requiring speed. Thinking cannot keep up with the rapid flow of feelings, so it substitutes analysis for actual emotional experience. Feeling cannot perform the patient work of logical reasoning, so it substitutes emotional storms for clear thought. The body cannot solve emotional or intellectual problems, so it substitutes mechanical activity for genuine resolution. I have told my students that we waste approximately half of our available energy through the wrong work of centers. This is not exaggeration or metaphor. When your thinking brain attempts to manage feelings, it burns through refined energy that could be used for genuine intellectual work. When your feeling brain hijacks decision-making, it depletes emotional capacity that should be available for moments of beauty, connection, or appropriate response to danger. When your moving brain engages in compulsive activity to avoid feeling, it exhausts physical energy that could be used for purposeful action. Imagine a factory where the office workers spend their day on the production floor trying to operate machinery they were never trained to use, while the machine operators sit at desks attempting to manage accounting they cannot understand, while the accountants try to fix broken equipment with no mechanical knowledge. The factory would produce almost nothing while consuming vast resources and creating constant chaos. This is precisely how your inner factory operates most of the time. The waste reveals itself in countless ways. You feel tired, though you have rested. You feel confused, though the situation is simple. You feel overwhelmed, though your responsibilities are manageable. You make poor decisions despite having good information. You repeat the same mistakes, though you have learned their consequences. All of this stems from centers attempting work they are not equipped to perform. What I am describing is not a problem that can be solved through one technique or a single practice. It requires patient observation of yourself over months and years, gradually learning to recognize when centers are doing work that belongs elsewhere, gently redirecting tasks to their proper locations. Begin simply. Throughout your day, pause and ask yourself which center should be handling what you are currently experiencing. Are you thinking about a feeling that needs to be felt? Are you feeling emotional about a practical task that simply needs doing? Are you moving compulsively to avoid something that requires your attention? This question alone begins creating separation between you and your automatic patterns. You start noticing that what you call I is actually several different processes, often working at cross purposes. The I that wants to analyze emotions is different from the I that needs to feel them. The I that generates emotional drama about simple tasks is different from the I that could simply complete them. When genuine feeling arises, practice allowing it to be felt without rushing to think about it, understand it, or escape from it. Sadness wants to be sad. Anger wants to be angry. Joy wants to be joyful. Each feeling completes itself naturally when not interrupted by thinking or movement. The actual duration of a feeling, when allowed to proceed without interference, is surprisingly brief. When thinking is needed, create conditions where thought can work. This means quiet, both external and internal. It means removing yourself from emotional turbulence and physical restlessness. Many people discover they can think clearly only when walking alone or sitting in stillness, because these conditions allow the thinking center to work without interference from the other centers. When the body needs to move, let it move. Physical labor, exercise, dance, all serve to occupy the moving center with appropriate tasks. Yet notice how difficult it is simply to move without overlaying the movement with emotional drama or mental commentary. Can you wash dishes with full attention to the physical sensations without thinking about the past or future, without resenting the task? This is allowing the moving center to do its proper work. Imagine experiencing even 1 hour where each center does only its proper work. Thoughts arise when thinking is needed, then cease when it is not. Feelings flow naturally in response to appropriate triggers, then complete themselves without lingering. The body moves through its tasks with grace and efficiency, resting when rest is needed. How much energy would remain available for actually living your life rather than maintaining internal chaos? This state is not a fantasy. It is how you were designed to function. The wrong work of centers is learned behavior, reinforced by culture and habit, yet it is not your natural condition. Children display moments of correct function before their education teaches them to think about their feelings, dramatize their thoughts, and compulsively move to avoid discomfort. The work I am describing requires everything you have. It demands that you observe yourself relentlessly, recognize your mechanical patterns, and interrupt them when you catch them operating. It demands that you create conditions in your life where the right work of centers becomes possible. It demands that you value genuine function over comfortable dysfunction. This is the only work worth doing. Everything else you accomplish in life occurs within the chaos of wrong work of centers. Only by bringing order to this internal factory can you begin to produce something of actual value, something that might survive your physical death, something that might justify the incredible gift of consciousness you have been given. When each center performs only its proper work, you discover you have more energy than you ever imagined possible, more clarity than you believed achievable, and access to a quality of presence that transforms every aspect of your existence.